Welcome to Silver Bar Stacker, folks. I hope everybody's doing well and enjoying the start of their stacking silly amounts of silver Saturday. That's right, folks. We've got a massive unboxing today, and so let's just get right straight into it. And please stick around till the end because we're actually finishing up a complete set of some Engelhard rounds, and I'm excited to share that with you. So let's go ahead and see what we got in store. Well, that took a lot longer than expected. And so this is the contents within each of those 3 packages that we had received. And so we've got quite a few rarer and scarcer bars here in front of us. Quite a big collection. And in fact, that's exactly what has been purchased here. We've been very, very busy purchasing collections. There's been all sorts of pieces that have been flooding the market, and we are in pretty crazy economic times, people. And so at this point in time, silver, despite what it may be doing, the spot price may be doing with its ups and downs, which is a constant cycle and a constant manipulated cycle, silver and gold, at the end of the day, they're doing their job. Individuals who have been stacking this stuff, preserving their wealth over the years, maybe they've hit some rough times. I've run into multiple individuals who have run into tough times, and so they're now put into the difficult position of, well, hey, do I go to some LCS and do I liquidate this stuff near spot, or this highly collectible stuff that is actually desired by some? Is there an alternative? And so that's exactly what I'm seeing on the secondary marketplace. I'm seeing all sorts of large collectors who have been stacking for a long time. I've had long conversations with many long-term collectors, and so there's a lot of collectors out there who are collecting the same sort of pieces that I'm collecting. And so I'm in the market to buy, and many individuals are in the market to buy right now. But unfortunately, some individuals have reached certain circumstances in their life where it's time for them to sell, and so they don't want to lose their shirt trying to sell it on the LCS. And so it's good to always be engaged with the community so you can find like-minded individuals to potentially trade P2P, right? And that way it's a winning deal on both ends, right? I may be paying a significant premium for these items, but at the end of the day, to me, it's a fair price, right? It's a fair price. It takes a lot of time to build collections like this, right? And so it is devastating if you're put into a position where you have to liquidate that all at once. And so definitely when you're collecting collectibles, be mindful of that, but also be aware that there are alternatives to having to go to an LCS. If you start to just go out there and network with individuals, you will find that there are many opportunities, right? Sometimes you may happen to have a piece that you may not be that attached to, but another collector might, and that collector might have a piece that you may be very attached to and they may not. And so there may be a mutual benefit there, right? To sell off some of their more collectible pieces for whatever reason. A lot of folks are converting their Eagles, for example, to something more generic. I've spoken to individuals whose collections I've helped purchase as kind of like a mutually beneficial deal there, who are just simply trying to simplify their life. Maybe they're trying to convert some of the more collectible vintage silver into something like generic gold, something that's a little bit more easy to kind of liquidate when the time may be. Some folks may convert to Eagles because they may feel that it's a little bit more liquid. They could just easily spend those in retirement. So whatever the case may be, I'm starting to see a lot of collections coming out, and it's very tempting. It's very difficult to resist the temptation to buy these collections, but I stay very focused with my stacking, and I have very particular things that I collect. And so when I see items such as that, then I try to add to the collection when it makes sense to do so, if it helps average me down, etc. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what we've got here. I'm very, very excited. Now over here, we've got a bunch of Engelhard Maple Leaf bars, and I'm a very, very big collector of Engelhard Maple Leaf bars. In fact, you'll see right here, I've already got quite a sizable stack of Maple Leaf bars here. And so, whoops, these are actually not Maple Leaf bars, but these Maple Leaf are. So you see these Maple Leaf bars come in very many types. There's these ones right here are all blank backs, but you also see some that have kind of like a bordered edge as well, and there's varying mintages between all of these bars. These are all blank backs. You'll also see some differences in the front as well. These all are again very similar, but sometimes, for example, here you see this, that 1 troy ounce symbol is kind of not centered like that one is, and so that makes a difference, right? The serial numbers make a difference. The original packaging that it comes in makes a difference. These are all in flips, but some of these come, for example, these ones are in the original seal, and there's also different seals. So when it comes to collecting the Maple Leaf Engelhards, there's quite a few varieties. Some are more common than the others, but I would say that all of them are pretty scarce, right? Like even most Maple Leaves, I think the most common Maple Leaf is like a 25,000 minted. So like, for example, some of these ones might be like 25,000 minted. I'm not sure. I'd have to look them up and look at the variations, but this thing isn't labeled. This collector is a very serious collector like I am, and so they've labeled everything very nicely. And so these ones aren't labeled with anything, and so my assumption, yeah, these are probably some of like a tier 3 maple, but still quite, you know, all of these maple bars are quite a bit rarer, 3 times rarer than any you know, random year prospector round, just as an example, if you're trying to compare, you know, Engelhard to Engelhard. So these are just some common Maple Leaf bars. Pretty excited about picking these up, and I'm going to keep these in that same Ziploc so as not to get them unorganized. So that's pretty cool. Now, up here we got some 15,000 minted Maple Leaf bars, and so these, they put them in capsules, which is nice. These are also blank backs. Now let's take a look at the front here. It looks like I'm not exactly sure what makes these 15,000 minted, so we'd have to look online. Let's take a look at engelhard.com and take a look at the maple variety 1 ounce bars. Let's take a look here. 15,000 minted maple bars. Alright, so it looks here that we've got produced in 1981. The design variation below our serial number registry suggests that this serial number assignment was shared with other variety and not indicative of the full range. 15,000 minted. 000514. Interesting. So this is the only 15,000 minted Maple Leaf that there is. And let's take a look at the front, see if it's similar looking. Let's see here, 15,000. So when I bought this collection, I actually just bought it as like Maple Leaf, as Maple Leaf bars. It wasn't really like based off of the tier or anything like that. So the 15,000 minted, blank without a border, blank without a border. 5,000 minted. I honestly feel like these are not 15,000 minted. The 15,000 minted bars actually would have the 1 troy ounce lower on the, it would be off-centered. The 15,000 minted bars have the 1 troy ounce stamp off-centered towards the bottom. So these are definitely not 15,000 minted maples. They are either more common or less common. So let's go ahead and try to figure this out. 058604. The centered. Okay, so the reverse blank without border and the obverse was changed slightly. 1 troy ounce was centered on the Maple Leaf. Logo was redesigned on some examples. Interestingly, the design may have reverted back to the original at some point, as one collector showed us a picture of the original variety with the serial 357522. Our serial number registry suggests that the serial number is shared with other variety and not indicative of full range. It's tough to say. It's really tough to say what the mintage is on this. I'm having trouble deciphering. I can tell you for sure that this is not the 25,000 minted. I don't know if this is the 15,000 or the, let's say, 5,000 minted, but at the very least I would say this is a 15,000 minted bar based off of my research, of what I can tell you from this. I know that's not probably the greatest answer that you wanted to hear, but I think that these are potentially less than 15,000 minted right here. But definitely no more than 15,000 minted, because a 25,000 minted bar, in fact, none of these are 25,000 minted bars. A 25,000 minted maple bar, let me show you an example of one of those. Here's an example of a maple. Here's another variety. Like here's a maple leaf, but this comes in a different red seal, right? So these come in the original seal here, but it doesn't come in the red seal. This has a red seal, Engelhard stamped there on. So these ones carry even a heftier premium. Maybe not compared to those tier 2 bars, but that kind of original seal is difficult to find. You don't see a lot of those, and then when they go for auction or something, then they go for like more than a normal maple leaf. Okay, here's some freaking examples. Okay, so you see this here? You see how this has like a beveled edge? So this maple leaf has a beveled edge on the back. And these are in the original factory seal as well. So these are kind of the different variations. And this is a 25,000 minted. So this is the most common. I happen to have the fewest of these because I personally like to collect the more rare versions of these. So I really don't have a lot of examples of the beveled edge. But this is the 25,000 minted maple leaf. Okay, and anything else that has like a blank, no beveled edge outside is going to be less than 25,000. It's going to be 15,000 and below. So that's kind of how I look at it. I like the blank mirror reverses without the border, because those maple leaves, I can immediately tell you that they're a little bit more scarce. Okay, so now these tier 2 bars, let's take a look at this. These come in the original factory seal. This has got a beveled edge. So let's take a look here. Tier 2. Oh yeah, I see. So let's see here. Tier 2. Interesting. Oh, tier 2. Wow. So there is a beveled edge maple that's also extremely rare. Interesting. Similar to example blah 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 blah. 426449. This is 323308. Interesting. Wow. 3-2. Yeah, I think this is a 25,000 minted. I don't think that this is a 750 minted, because the 750 minted cereal ranges from like 4-2. They all start with 4-2. So I'm quite sure that these are not tier 2, because a tier 2 means that it is less than 5,000 minted. And I don't think that's the case for any of these. Let's take a look then. So let's take a look. These are 3-2, 3-2, 3-2, 3-2, 3-2, 3-2, 3-2, 3-2. You know what's really cool about these? There's some sequential serials in here though. So none of these are tier 2 bars though. These are not tier 2. These are tier. What's 25,000 minted? That's like a tier 3 bar, I think, right? 25,000 minted, that's a tier 4. Anything under 20,000 minted would be tier 3. Anything under 75,000, like a prospector, is a tier 4. So this is actually a tier 4. These aren't tier 2s. That's okay, because when I bought these just maples are maples, right? You know, silver, maples are maples. So a little bit of mis-IDing by the collector that we purchased from, but that's okay. You know, it's hard to do your research on these things, and you know, just like science, it's not all set in stone. The rules are constantly changing as you uncover more stuff. Like, for example, I reached out to Engelhard.com. They got back to me very quickly, actually, because I provided them with a lot of new information, and in fact, new pieces that they don't even have on their site. So they responded back to me. They said they were aware of the channel and the site and stuff, which I wasn't even expecting, which is pretty cool. And so they said that they'll start kind of updating the master database and stuff with some of the new findings I provided them. And so that right there is like science at work, right? Like we found some expanded serial ranges, we found some new items that we hadn't been seen before, and so that's adding to the history. That's science, you know, we're adding to our knowledge base. So that's okay, you know, everything is kind of a learning experience. Like we move on, we start to uncover more, and you know, sometimes, you know, they were saying in that one listing for that maple that like it's not indicative of the full cereal range, so that, sometimes things don't make sense, right? You don't know exactly what happened back when they were refining these pieces, but through collectors' knowledge base and through their pieces, we kind of learn more and more about the history. And so this next thing here is something I'm extremely excited about, because I found a like-minded collector just like myself who's very much into the Engelhard Australia authentic vintage bars. And so when it comes to the 1 ounce variety of Engelhard Australia vintage bars, I'm extremely big collector of those. There's only 3 types of those. There's the type 1, the type 2, the type 3, and they have very small variations in the Engelhard Australia bars. So you've got kind of a thicker text here with a very light, faint frosted bordering there on the back with a very unique, there's no bars out here besides Engelhard Australia bars that have reverses like this. So there's only 1,500 bars, pressed bars like this that exist, 500 of each type. These come at a hefty premium, and so I'm so excited to be able to have duplicates of these. And so this is the chunky text type 1 Engelhard Australia 1 ounce bar. Now this is the type 2. It also has a slightly less chunky text, but still quite defined. And this back here is almost mirror-like, but it's still slightly got a little bit of frost, but not like a pebble-like frost. Just a very smooth frosting there on the back. A very nicely refined bar there for the type 2. Now the type 3 has the thinnest, most refined they call it, but I don't think it's as refined, but it's the smoothest, I would say, kind of text there. And then on the back you have a true kind of frosting. Like this is like a frosted back versus this is very much like a cleaner machined thing where a frosted back, where this is like a very pebble, almost not a pebble like, I don't want to call it pebble like because it's not like a pebble back, it's more like a frosted back, if that makes sense, right? It's more like a frosted back, kind of similar to that. So that's pretty cool. So Engelhard Australia bars carry a hefty premium. I'm so excited to grab these because they're rarely available. Usually when they're available, the past ones that I bought have gone from people actually living in Australia, and so I've had to roll the dice with getting something shipped from Australia, and it just wasn't my first choice. And so now that I was able to find a collector based here in the States that was able to work out a private deal for the entire collection, I was very, very excited about that. I was very excited to also grab a couple Royal Engelhard bars. These are actually bars that were produced for Royal Typewriting Company. This is a tier 2 bar. These are 1,500 minted, and they actually come in 2 different types. And so I was able to collect both types, but I didn't have a duplicate of the reverse that's a little bit different. And so there's 2 different types for the out of the 1,500. There's 2 different types, right? So it's not like there's 1,500 of each type. There's 1,500 that exist, and there's some of each type. And so you notice when you flip this over, boom, Royal is straight. Now when you flip this over, it's upside down. So I've got 2 of each. I've got 2 of each type there, and I already had a couple of the others as well, so I'm super excited to add some more Royal Bank bars. And now finally we've got the Steve Co knit rounds, Steve Co wovens. I was able to finally pick up this one, which I hadn't had one, and so now I finally have the full set of Steve Co wovens rounds, which I'm really excited about. We have the full set. This is the one that was missing, and so now when I combine this one, this one, this one, and I believe this one, that's the entire full set. Plus we've got some duplicates as well, so that's really neat. We've got this one, which is the 1978. We've got this one, which is the 1976. We've got this one, which is the 1975. And we've got this one, which is the 1977. My personal favorite right there. And I'm super excited to now have the entire full set.